hours? Have we all panicked as much as I have? I'm worried. I'm worried. Sat here, been doing maths. It's not looking good. We'll go for it in a moment. Oh, dear, dear, dear. Why on earth did I become a McLaren fan? They're useless. They are utterly, utterly useless. Dear, dear, dear. How are we feeling, though? Are we ready for another round of qualifying? I feel like it could actually be quite different. Like, I feel like the medium compound tyre versus the soft compound tyre here might just be enough of a difference. And a lot of the drivers had a pretty poor end to qualifying 1 yesterday that they probably won't do again. So hopefully we'll get to see the actual pace from those 5 or 6 drivers that didn't get to show what kind of qualifying pace they really had, because they didn't get another lap in. But I'd love to know your thoughts, feelings, how you feel like this is going to go. Oh, and I haven't got the chat for some reason. Let me see if I can reset that. Why is that not doing a thing? I can see the chat on YouTube. It looks like it's coming through, but it's not coming through on here. Weird. Weird. Hello, Moto Hollands. How's it going? We are back indeed. TJ Plays. Hello, Sarah as well in there. Hello, Sally. Don't forget the love of all things. Mention Max doing well. Yeah, exactly. Need to stop doing that, don't I? Really need to stop mentioning that I quite highly rate Max Verstappen, because it's not doing me any favors. They are not playing into my favor at all. Let's reset the chat. Why is it not working? It's being annoying. Pass. There's the lingering chat from before, where we have Forza Mercedes and also discussion about how good Max Verstappen was. Great. Absolutely great. Exactly what I wanted to see right about now. It's going to be Lando or Max who gets pole, I reckon. Yeah, I think that's a good shout, Moto Hollands, to be honest. I think that is pretty much where I'm at as well. Like, looking at the qualifying pace of both of them during sprint quali yesterday. Max pole. I mean, he did it once. He can do it again. Hello, Josh. How's it going? Okay. Just reconnecting everything by the looks of things. But it'll be fine. It'll be fine. It'll work itself out eventually. Hopefully. Maybe. Let's connect that. And connect that too. An error. Oh dear, what have I done? I've broken the chat. I've broken it. It's not connecting. Why is it not connecting? Oh, I don't know how to do this right about now. General settings? No. Overlay? I don't even know why it's not doing its thing. Might have to go chatless. And I'll just pretend it works. Oh, we have always reconnected. Hang on. We might be back in the room. we might be back in the room. 6 minutes of this stream, just me looking at the chat and trying to make it work. Apologies. Maybe a Ferrari or Sauber podium. If you're thinking Ferrari, you're getting anywhere close to this podium, you've lost your head. Carlos Sainz literally just finished ahead of the Ferrari pair. And he's in a Williams. Look at this. Carlos Blement Sainz. Watched the incident a few times, and Piastri is most at fault. Switchbacking in COTA turn 1 is the worst thing you can do on lap 1. Yeah, definitely. I think that's the thing, right? From his perspective, I can completely understand why he has gone for it, but it is just an absolute hospital pass, isn't it? There's no way he is getting out of that, and it is going to be looking good for him. So one of those things, definitely just Oscar being like maybe a little bit panicked at this point in the season, can we say? He knows that he does need to still get points on the board. Like, it's all well and good saying, well, he's got a lead in the championship, and it's quite a long way for Lando Norris to make up, and it's quite a long way for Max Verstappen even more so to make up. But at some point, it's got to actually happen, right? And at some point, he's got to actually win a Grand Prix or get a good chunk of points on the board. Ah, there we go. I fixed it. Beautiful. Sepang is my personal favorite. Oh, Sepang with a sprint weekend would be banging. I think that would be great. Not going to get it, but like, it would be really good. Sainz being the Ferrari is 100% karma. What did I think of the sprint? I mean, we didn't really get to see much of it, was the problem. Like, started an absolute banger. Then we had 5 laps under the safety car. And then sort of mellowed out a little bit. Saw a couple of little battles starting to unfold. Could have maybe seen an Antonelli-Behrman battle continue, although Behrman did end up getting that 10-second penalty anyway. Tsunoda was also catching up to Albon a little bit, but then again, another safety car. Lance Stroll decided to just wipe out Esteban Ocon, and then the final sort of 5 laps were under the safety car. So out of like 19 laps of racing, we only really saw 10, maybe. So I think it's a good track for a sprint. I do think it's one of the better ones you could have a sprint race on, but not when the safety car is called out twice. And it takes absolute age to pick up all the pieces of everyone. But yeah, it was an interesting one. But Max Verstappen took the win. And ladies and gentlemen, I've been doing some maths. Should we talk about it? Should we talk about it? Shall we talk about it? I think the thing from my perspective is Max Verstappen can no longer be ignored at this point. I was putting it off. I think most McLaren fans were putting it off. But Max Verstappen is now well and truly part of this championship battle. I've been telling myself it can't happen. I've been telling myself it was 97 points at the summer break. Surely nobody can come from 97 points behind another driver. I know there was 10 races still to run after the summer break, but nearly 100 points Max Verstappen was behind Piastri. And now he is down to 55. He has managed to have a 42-point swing in 4.5 race weekends, which, by the way, is exactly the amount of points he needs. If he manages to do that again, so let's say we go into tomorrow's race and he wins, which isn't completely out of the question by any stretch of the imagination, because he's been very, very quick in all of the races that we've had since the summer break and has looked like winning basically all of them, apart from Singapore, where he was second best to George Russell. So if he goes on to win in COTA, he will have, and well, even if Piastri is second, which I'm assuming Piastri is probably going to come in third, by the way, but let's say Piastri comes in second because he needs it. Like, Piastri needs to be on the podium tomorrow, and I'm hoping that Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri are not going to wipe each other out again. So let's say Piastri finishes second, Max Verstappen finishes first. He gets another 7-point swing in his favor. He will have gained 49 points on Piastri in 5 race weekends. 49 points. Do you know how many he needs to win the championship from the next 5 races? 49 points. He has literally done exactly what he needs to do. If he has another 49 point swing, so just an identical point swing to what he has already had in those 5 races since the summer break, he does that again, he will be a world champion because he will have made up 98 points. He will win the championship by a singular point to Piastri if he is able to just match exactly what he has done since the summer break. It is ridiculous. He is not human. I don't understand how he has done it. Max Verstappen is ridiculous, and I just really don't want it to happen. Like, I've been a McLaren fan for so long. We have so many bad years. The Fernando Alonso era was supposed to be, you know, the absolute just dross of our Formula One's sort of life. But no, we've now got ourselves into a position where we're going to win back-to-back Constructors' Championships and not get a Drivers' Championship on the board, aren't they? That's what they're going to do. They're just going to throw it away. They're just going to not get a Drivers' Championship on the board. If we just had one driver, right? If we just had a clear number one and we'd have, you know, swapped positions and done what Lewis Hamilton did at Mercedes with Valtteri Bottas, and just every time Bottas is in the lead, nope, give Lewis Hamilton the position. You know your position. Like, if we'd have just done that, we'd probably have enough points on the board right now to make sure that Max Verstappen couldn't mathematically catch up to the leader. But instead, we have this scenario where Max Verstappen goes into the final 5 races of the season, most likely just having to match what he has already done. And that's just if Oscar Piastri comes second. As I say, if Oscar Piastri comes third and Max Verstappen gets another 10-point swing, that means he'll have gained 52 points on Piastri since the summer break. Over 10 points per race weekend since the summer break. And I know that this collision has a big swing in that. The fact that he has gained 8 points on both of the McLaren drivers during the sprint race is a huge number of points. But he's got another opportunity to do that. There's other sprint races to come as well. And there's other races that are going to really suit that Red Bull car. Like the races which weren't supposed to suit that Red Bull car, now suddenly Max Verstappen is pulling out all the stops. Like, he is never good in Singapore. It's the only race on the entire calendar he's never won is Singapore. And he still managed to outscore both Ferraris in Singapore. Like, he's just relentless. I don't understand it. It's just insane. But I'd love to know your thoughts. Like, is Max Verstappen going to be able to do this? Are we going to go into Abu Dhabi? Do you think, first and foremost, that Max Verstappen will be within 25 points of Oscar Piastri or Lando Norris, the leading McLaren, going into the final race of the season? Maybe he's even above the McLarens before the final race of the season. But do you think Max Verstappen now is a proper championship contender? Because I do. I've been saying no since the summer break. I've said no, not at all. It's never going to happen. 97 points is too much. It can't happen. But now I well and truly believe he is actually within touching distance of winning a 5th championship in a row. And if he manages to win the championship in that Red Bull car against these McLarens, where the McLarens were so dominant. Like, you look at the constructors' standings, McLaren have won the constructors' standings by a landslide, and yet Max Verstappen can still go on and win the championship in a Red Bull car that is currently 4th in the constructors' standings. Like, I just don't get it. He is so ridiculous. What has he been doing inside of that Red Bull car? I'd love to know your thoughts, because I need some help. I need some professional help, and you guys to tell me that it's just not going to happen. Thank you, Sebastian. George Russell takes pole position. Do you think so? You think George Russell could nab a podium place? A pole place, sorry, a pole. I just think Verstappen and Norris are too quick. I think it's going to be those two. George Russell could maybe sneak a 3rd. I could see him definitely on the 2nd row of the grid. I think he's going to start 3rd or 4th, George Russell. Again, just going off what we saw yesterday. People say no shot to Max Verstappen winning the championship. So McLaren aren't going to racing in qualifying. They should be. Both of the McLarens are all set to go, no? From what I could see, anyway. Shall I double check that? They can't not be fixed. It wasn't that much damage. Yes. The McLarens are fixed. They will be qualifying. Don't worry. Like, they had a shunt. Don't get me wrong, but we've seen bigger shunts in sprints and then still taking part in qualifying sessions later on in the afternoon. It wasn't that big of a shunt. Although, to be fair, I've only been doing the maths on Max, so Stroll gets an F1 grid drop for needless sprint race crash. I mean, it makes sense. But yeah, there's nothing about... Stroll's been handed a 10-second penalty for causing collision, but he didn't finish the race, converted into a 5-place grid drop. That was what I was also meant to check, but had not. So yeah, Lance Stroll is indeed dropping by 5 positions. I've heard that Charles still hasn't signed for Ferrari next year. Is that true that he might leave? No, he is signed for Ferrari until 2027, I think, was the contract that he had. Unless he's got an exit clause, but we wouldn't know about that. But Charles is signed to Ferrari until 2027. At this point, doesn't mean he can't leave. You know, there might be clauses in there that if Ferrari don't have a competitive car, if he's offered something by another team, you never know what clauses those contracts do have. In the same way that Max Verstappen had a clause in his contract, apparently, that if he wasn't in the top 3 by the summer break, then he was allowed to start leaving. Imagine that, by the way. Imagine if Max Verstappen had decided at the summer break that he'd had enough of Red Bull and he decided to move on to Mercedes for 2026. And now is in the championship battle with Red Bull in 2025 again. It would be so Max Verstappen, wouldn't it? He wins this championship with Red Bull, goes into 2026, actually decides to go to Mercedes, wins that championship as well, goes 6 on the bounce, then just dominates another era. We have another 2023, this time in 2027, where he just storms the entire field, wins 20 out of 24 races or something ridiculous. I could see it happening. Max Verstappen's just another beast. Born to win. Just does not give anyone hope. Max has no chance for just getting too hopeful and making this boring season interesting. See, I was saying the exact same thing, Akash. I was saying that. I was saying that not 2 weeks ago, where I was debating it with the boys over on the Crash Happy podcast. And I was saying, look, it's not going to happen. Is what it is. But now I'm worried. I think that clash between the two McLarens, the 8-point swing, the fact that the McLarens are, still being put back together again, so they're not going to be at their absolute best going into qualifying. Because this is the thing, right? They've got damaged parts. They're not going to have perfect replicas of every single part for both cars. So now they have to decide who gets what repairs go on which cut, who gets which replacement parts. There's a lot to do for the McLaren team to put those cars back together again, and there's no saying that they're going to be as quick as they were. We're assuming they will be. They're very, very good engineers that they've got there. But I reckon George would beat Max in the same car. I think it would be close, don't get me wrong, Owen, but maybe just because George has the experience. If George was at Mercedes and Max was going into Mercedes, George has the benefit that he's been there a couple of years now, right? Or a good few years now. So he would be able to use that experience that he has over Max Verstappen. Max has a similar chance to Hamilton in 2010, in my opinion. Okay, yeah, I can see that. What about Vettel, though? Vettel 2010 was also quite far away. Ended up winning it. Kimi Räikkönen 2007 was also quite far away. A little bit out of it. No shout. Okay. Less people. Maybe I'm just worried. Maybe I'm just having a bad day because both of the McLarens decided to DNF from the sprint race. Maybe I'm just overthinking it a touch. But as I say, Max Verstappen is doing exactly what he needs to be doing. At random. Gaming at 10 o'clock. I will not be gaming at 10 o'clock. I will be watching the qualifying at 10 o'clock. That is when it gets underway here in the UK. Oh, sorry, you were saying at random gaming. I got you. Debating doing some gaming stuff, though, on the channel. Started doing some gaming stuff over on Crash Happy. And it's got me into a little bit of a gaming mood once again. So I'm thinking about possibly doing some gaming bits and pieces. Keep your eyes peeled. Got a week off work after the Mexico Grand Prix. So gonna see what I can do in that week. Get a lot of things done. Who do I think will win the US Grand Prix? I want to say Lando Norris. But it's going to be very close. In fact, should we have a little look at your guys' predictions? So in terms of the predictions, every single week before the Grand Prix, I put out a post on the community tab. You guys hit the link on there and you can get your predictions in for the Grand Prix weekend. The Gartic phone was quite funny. It was so funny. And there's another one of those to come, by the way. We recorded a couple of those and some other like gaming videos that I'm not sure when they're coming out. Mr. V has taken a lot of the gaming editing brunt. Not sure why he decided to do that to himself, but he's taken a lot of the gaming editing brunt. So I kind of left it in his hands for a moment. A lot of the podcasts I try to edit. There's only a couple that I haven't edited, actually. Be interesting to see if people notice which ones I edit and which ones I don't. Because, yeah, there's only 2 so far that I haven't edited, I want to say. Maybe 3, actually. Maybe 3. I think 2. But the Gartic phone was so funny. Do we have a Beam MP server? Maybe. Maybe we do. Maybe we do. Maybe we recorded something on there recently. But let's get into the predictions. So yeah, over on the community tab, where is this tab that I'm talking about? It's on the channel. So if you click my name, not applicable, that takes you to my channel. And then you've got like all the different options where you've got like live streams, videos, shorts, and along there you will be able to see posts. And it's over on that posts tab that you can find the link to get your predictions in. And it is an interesting space to go, to be honest with you. Like, you guys only get to see what you put in, but I get to see what everybody puts in. And when it's like 200-300 people all trying to decide who's going to be winning, who's going to be on the podium, there are some people that have got some weird ideas of how this weekend's going to go. I can tell you that for free. It is a very, very interesting report to go through. But in terms of your predictions this week, then I asked you for your winner, your podium places, your positive surprise, your best team, your struggle, and your flop team. Final opportunity to get it into the live chat if you want to get your votes in. I'm going to show you what we saw. Ollie, thank you so much for the super chat, the 99 cents. Appreciate that, mate. Wild take for this race, Nico podium again. Should we have a little look? So, to be honest, a bit of a mixed one. Lando Norris still just edged the voting for who you thought was going to win, but Max Verstappen was a lot closer to taking that spot. Like, Max Verstappen was an absolute guaranteed second place in this ranking, and had he got like 2 or 3 more votes for first place, then he would have edged himself over Lando Norris into that winning position. Max Verstappen having won so much since the summer break, I think people are now going, Max Verstappen, let's try and vote for him, or let's throw a vote in for him for winning the Grand Prix. So Max Verstappen was just behind Lando Norris, and Oscar Piastri did not get many votes whatsoever, if I'm honest. Oscar Piastri was in the podium places. A few people had him second, a few people had him third, but a lot more people had Lando Norris and Max Verstappen winning this Grand Prix than Oscar Piastri. So a little bit less faith in Oscar Piastri at this point in the season. Then we've got Lewis Hamilton. He was voted as the positive surprise, which I guess kind of makes sense, you know, like we were hoping that Ferrari were maybe going to be able to deliver something a little bit different. But looking at how sprint qualifying went, I suppose a positive for him was that he out-qualified Charles Leclerc and managed to get the better of Charles Leclerc in the sprint. So there's positives there. How positive you sort of see them and whether or not you think they're positive enough, I'll let you decide. But you had Lewis Hamilton as your positive surprise. Best team, you had McLaren. Not any points on the board so far. Red Bull got 10 points on the board. Mercedes got 8 points on the board. Ferrari got 9 points on the board. So McLaren, a little bit of catching up to do if they are going to be the best team of the weekend. Also, like Williams looking really solid. Albon and Sainz both in the points there during the sprint. I know, again, we took the McLarens out and Hülkenberg dropped down all the way. So there were a few drivers that managed to sneak into the points in the sprint that maybe wouldn't have been there otherwise. But got to race what's in front of you. The McLarens were dropping out. And if the McLarens are dropping out, everybody else is going to take those points away from them. So best team McLaren. Don't think that's the best of predictions so far this weekend, but still the main event to come. Then Franco Colapinto's just struggle. I think he's just locked in as people struggle now. I think nobody is expecting him to get points this season. He'll be the only driver that has competed in, more than 5 races. Or how many did Jack Doohan get? Jack Doohan get 6 in the end, 5, 6, whatever it was. He'll be the only driver that's competed in more races than Jack Doohan. That has also got 0 points on the board. And I think when that's such a big gap, like in previous years, if you had 0 points, but there was a few drivers ahead of you only in the single digits, you could kind of get away with it. Franco Colapinto's on 0 points. Like the next is Ollie Behrman on 18, and then Gabriel Bortoleto on 18, and then Gasly on 20. Like it's quite a big jump between Franco Colapinto and the rest of the grid. So could be an awkward discussion for Franco Colapinto to have at the end of the season. Maybe this is leaning into Franco Colapinto losing that seat at Alpine. Love to know your thoughts on that. And then finally, you had the flop team as Aston Martin. Wasn't really expecting that one, if I'm honest with you. Like, I know it's not their best circuit ever, but wasn't expecting them to be everybody's flop team for the weekend. The flop team was a bit of a mix. Let me just double check what the percentages were on that. So you had Aston Martin as your flop team, but it was only 18.8% of the vote. 14.6% of the vote had McLaren. 13% of the vote had Ferrari. 12% of the vote had Alpine. Like there was quite a mix in terms of that flop team rankings. Starts in 30 minutes time. It does indeed. That Alpine may as well be made out of baguette. That's how bad it is. Yeah, but the thing is, Gasly has still been able to get 20 points out of it. So Franco Colapinto is going to have quite an interesting discussion to have at the end of the season, right? Because he's going to go, well, the car was absolutely terrible. But they're going to point at this and go, well, Pierre Gasly was able to get 20 points out of it, and the other rookies, Bortoleto, Behrman, Hadjar, they were able to get points on the board pretty consistently. So they're in pretty bad cars too. The Stakes Sauber hasn't been that much better than the Alpine throughout the majority of the season, you could say. It was only a few races before the summer break that it was good. Then Bortoleto was pretty decent post-summer break, but Hülkenberg wasn't. Like, it's been very up and down for Stakes Sauber as well, and Haas to an extent. So Colapinto with a few questions to answer. should I keep awake to watch or go to sleep? You should definitely stay awake to watch. Definitely stay awake to watch. But I'm biased, so I'm always going to say that. Definitely stay awake to watch. And make sure you just, you have this open, maybe one of my videos open on another tab that's sort of playing through and just playing the adverts. Why not just click the top link in the description, open up that video, just have it on in the background, looping, just while you're watching the stream. Give it that a few views. Here we go then. In fact, I was going to get your guys' opinion as well, because it's something that we hadn't mentioned during the sprint or the sprint quali. That actually we have a little bit of a weird tyre situation this weekend. It hadn't come to the fore because we haven't actually seen anybody on the hard compound tyre yet, apart from free practice. A few drivers went out in free practice and got a set of hard compound tyres on to see how they would do. But yeah, C1 hard compound tyres and then a jump. So Pirelli trying that once again. They do try that a fair few times, don't they? They've tried it a fair few times this season where they've had a gap in the tyres. So what they would normally have is C1, C2, C3. Like whenever they pick the tyres, they always choose 3 in a row. So say the C5 is the soft, then you'd see C5, C4, C3. Or say the C3 is the soft, you'd see C3, C2, C1. But they've decided to jump around with the tyre compounds. The C1 hard compound tyre, but then C3 medium, C4 soft. So could actually see a little bit of a weird race because of that. I know last time they did this, we didn't see much of an impact because the tyre degradation was so low. But actually, I think the tyre degradation we saw in the sprint race, even with the safety car, we did see a few guys sort of losing a little bit of pace in comparison to what pace they had before. Lewis Hamilton was the one, right? He was really catching up to the back of Carlos Sainz, but he had 5 lap older tyres and then just kind of fell away at the end there and wasn't able to catch Carlos Sainz in the end. So I think Lewis Hamilton could be the case study there for us to be like, maybe these medium tyres won't last forever, and actually that gap between the hard compound and the medium tyre will actually come to the fore come the race itself. Obviously, the rear tyres here are the ones that take the brunt of the force. We had Max Verstappen in the sprint race complaining about his rear tyres already, and they hadn't been on the car for very long at all. And again, they sort of done a few laps behind the safety car, but that was possibly to do with the balance of that Red Bull car as well, not just the fact that the rear tyres do take a little bit of a beating. 56 laps to come tomorrow. The race distance of 308.728 kilometers, because the circuit is 5.513 kilometers long. And it's going to be a pretty tough one on the drivers, it has to say. Oh, thank you, GameStar70, for the super chat. McLaren 2007 equals McLaren 2025. Don't say it. Just not favouring one driver at the cost of the other. Max will be the 2025 champ, like Kimi in 2007. Kimi won 3 out of the last 4 races. Very true. Max Verstappen does have to, well, pretty much do that, doesn't he? He has to win as much as he has. I mean, well, he's won everything since the summer break, other than he's won almost everything since the summer break. So Max Verstappen looking pretty good for it, right? If he wins here in the US, I could see him winning in Mexico, and then we go to his favorite track, Brazil, where he's just absolute monster. So I could see him winning the sprint and winning the race in Brazil. Then we go to Vegas, though, don't we? Yeah, we go to Vegas. Qatar is one as well, though. Qatar is usually pretty decent for the McLarens. So at least the McLarens have got Qatar to look forward to, but that is the penultimate race of the season, so it's going to be pretty damn tight, isn't it? Going to be pretty damn tight, but we can all hope. A little question for you: when was Lando Norris's first podium? I want to say Austria, but I can't remember the year. 2020? 21? Can't remember. It's bad, isn't it? That is my memory. Oh, we don't want this. We don't want to be looking at that image anymore. We've seen it enough. Vegas would be a struggle for McLaren. Yes, but it should also be a struggle a little bit for little bit of a struggle for Max too, because likely that George Russell will be very, very quick. Possibly Kimi Antonelli as well. First podium. Yeah, Austria 2020. Nailed it. Genius. There we go. I think I said 2020 first. I don't know. It's very late. I had a very late night last night. I had to go and pick my girlfriend up from the train station at like 2 a.m. So I did not get to sleep until like 2:30. And then had to get up. Had to do a day. Done one stream. Second stream now. Qualifying doesn't start until 10. So I'm going to be on my last legs, lads. You're going to have to keep the momentum going. The chat's going to have to keep the stream rolling for me. Throw your questions at me. Throw your comments. Because my brain is fried. Who do I think will be the champion in 2026? I'm going to go... Seems obvious, but I feel like it's going to be George Russell, you know. I feel like George Russell's so confident about it. And like Mercedes are so confident about it. And a lot of the other teams are talking about how good the Mercedes engine is looking already. Like Mercedes just seem to have a lot of momentum behind them. I could see George Russell doing it. I think just going off the rumors, and the rumors aren't always everything. You know, the rumors are not absolutely guaranteed to become reality. But I do think that George Russell is in a very solid position. Like he said himself, if he could pick a team to be in for the 2026 season, he would pick Mercedes. And I can understand why. George is not winning. Oh, the 90. Not very happy about it. Let's hope this race isn't a snooze fest. It's not a snooze fest, don't worry. It's qualifying as well. Qualifying's always good. What car do I drive? What car do I drive? Peugeot 10 something. 107? Maybe? Again, my brain is fried. Too close to say? Yeah, that's very true. Remember 2022 when Russell said on Drive to Survive, that looks fast? Yeah, true. Yeah, but there was a lot of like there was a lot of 50-50 because it was it wasn't such a engine problem. Like the engines were remaining the same from 21 into 22, so no one was really like that sure when it's an aero thing, but because it's engine and aero, you've got to kind of nail both for 2026. If Mercedes are already guaranteed to nail one, then, you know, the opportunity of them nailing another is pretty good. Mathematically, Russell can also win the championship this year. Very true. So can Charles Leclerc, or is that now over? No, it can't be over because Charles Leclerc scored points where Piastri didn't. So can Charles Leclerc, but that's not going to happen either. Like, mathematically and properly being in it are two very different questions. And I think just with the momentum that Max Verstappen has is why I think he actually is now in the championship battle and could realistically put together a drive for it. Will he win it? Still, like, outside shout. Still, I'd say Norris and Piastri are more likely to win it. But where a few weeks ago I would have said Max Verstappen had no chance of winning it, I'm now saying Max Verstappen has a small chance of winning it. Like, I'm putting him actually in contention for it. Whereas a few weeks ago, I was not. I absolutely was not. In 2021, Mercedes had the fastest car. There was such a big change to aero, though, between 21 and 22. And they had to continue developing throughout 2021 because they were still fighting for the championship with Max Verstappen. So, like, it's very different. They're in a very different circumstance now, aren't they? Like, they don't need to keep developing this car because this season is already pretty much done and dusted for them. Like, they'd be more than happy to take another couple of wins or so, and I'm sure George Russell would love to add some more trophies to his cabinet, but I don't think they're that bothered about it. If the top 5 disqualify, Hamilton can win his 5th in red. He could. I think it's more likely that Hamilton disqualifies, though. The amount of lifting and coasting that the Red Bull team have to do. This is a track that is pretty tough on that skid plank underneath. So, well, we've seen literal disqualifications here because the skid block was too thin. So, could certainly happen again, can it? Where Lewis Hamilton just slightly overdoes it during the race and wears that plank too thin. Plank wear is going to be a real thing, and Ferrari's lifting, coasting in Singapore. Like, I think Charles Leclerc started lifting and coasting like 10 laps in to the Singapore Grand Prix, so I can't see it, honestly. I think Ferrari will really struggle here in COTA. Like, I don't know how to put it any different way. I know that they sort of lucked into a few more points than maybe they were expecting in the sprint, but I am not expecting anything dramatically sort of interesting to happen. Charles will win the championship and will win every race from now on. I think this race is the big problem with that. Because again, if he's got a lift and coast from lap 3 of this Grand Prix because the plank wear is so bad, he is going to struggle to do 56 laps of lifting and coasting and still put in competitive lap times, whilst, you know, the McLarens and Max Verstappen are rattling around at ridiculous speed. Colapinto points, can't see it happening. Cannot see it happening. Who is leading the World Drivers' Championship? Oscar Piastri is leading. 336 points. Please lift and coast 200 meters, lap 1, turn 1. Like, wouldn't surprise me. Would not surprise me at all. Like, the radio messages from Charles Leclerc last weekend in Singapore were abysmal. Like, he was struggling so much. And like, we saw Lewis Hamilton sort of lifting and coasting a little bit less and not quite taking as much care of his Ferrari's brakes, and they ended up failing at the end of the Grand Prix. So Charles Leclerc was in the right to lift and coast as much as he did, but it's also not fun for a driver to have to lift and coast constantly throughout a Grand Prix. I like how every time we mention McLaren rivals, everyone says Max Verstappen and not Red Bull, because Red Bull is only one guy at the moment. I mean, yes, mainly because Yuki Tsunoda is 16th in the championship, so I think that's where the problem lies, isn't it? Thank you, Riley, for following the Twitch channel. Oh, and Noah for following the Twitch channel. We must be getting pretty close to 700 followers over on Twitch. 658. We need 42 more followers over on Twitch. Surely there's 42 people in the chat across YouTube and YouTube Shorts that have not gone over and followed on Twitch. Let's see if we can bump that number up. I reckon we can get to not only 700 by the end of the season, but like 700 by the end of the weekend if we really go for it. Alonso's been the most unlucky driver this year. Oh, God, yeah, by a country mile. But I will never say it to Dan No Skill because I want him to live with that pain of Fernando Alonso continuing to just be horrendously unlucky. Just imagine saying in 2023 that Red Bull would be 16th in the championship. Yeah, that's very true. I don't know, though. Second half of 2023, Sergio Perez's performances did start to tumble off a cliff. That was sort of the start of the end for Sergio Perez, wasn't it? Then he kind of revived it a touch for the first 5 or 6 races in 24, only for it to fall off a cliff once again as soon as he got a contract, basically. It's like, here you go, here's your contract, and there's your form. It's gone. Dipped off and dead. Falcon, thank you for following over on Twitch. There you go. This is the momentum we need. This is the momentum we need. We're getting the followers in. What do I think will happen with the new manual overtake and losing of DRS? Who do I think will struggle and who will benefit? Oh, that's a great question. I mean, DRS has been around for a little while now. I think it's had its ups and downs. There's been years where the DRS has been good. There's been years where the DRS has been pretty overpowered. Like, there's been a good few Formula One championship seasons where they could have done without the DRS, really, because it was so overpowered in comparison to sort of just overtaking under normal circumstances. But I think when it comes to the overtaking next year, I'm quite excited about it. I think the managing of the electrical power will be an interesting back and forth. I think the X and Y modes will also be very fun, like going into Y mode down the straights and then X mode through the twisty bits. Be interesting to see how the drivers kind of go through that and discuss that, because it does feel like a Formula One game as opposed to Formula One in real life. But I think it will be interesting. Again, we'll kind of see, right? If in the first couple of races it's almost impossible to overtake, we might need a reset. But hopefully we go into the first couple of races, we see some decent battles, and actually we end up seeing some good overtaking between the cars out on track. Do you agree with Formula Duck's hot take where he said Oscar is overrated? Still good, but not as amazing as everyone claims. I don't think he's overrated. I think people just kind of forget that he's only in his third season a lot of the time. Like, they think he should be the complete package, and they look at a Baku where he made just a couple of mistakes, and it was like, yeah, he's had one weekend this year where it's really fallen off a cliff, but he is in his third season. And you know, third season, we normally see drivers kind of take a step up, which he most certainly has. Like, he's been phenomenal at points this season. But I think there's just still more to come, I would say, with Oscar Piastri. He is not the finished article by any means, and there's still a lot more to come for him. Like Max Verstappen, let's not forget, Max Verstappen won his first championship in his 7th season. Like, sometimes it takes a little while. Max Verstappen was also talked about as, you know, pretty bad, pretty reckless, or, well, fast but reckless, wasn't he, Max Verstappen? Whereas Piastri is kind of talked about as more level-headed, maybe lacking a little bit of gumption sometimes, but has all of the ingredients there, I think, to become one of the best drivers on the grid. Do I think he's overrated? No, I don't think so. I think he's just not finished yet. I think people are maybe expecting too much from him too soon. Can we all agree that the crash in the sprint race was Oscar's fault? Yeah, I think more Oscar's fault than anybody else's. It was a little bit overzealous from Oscar Piastri. I think, you know, he was going for a move that just didn't exist, but he needed to get past his teammate, and he knows that the championship is on the line. He knows that he needs the points on the board, and he can't just keep letting Lando Norris finish ahead of him, you know. Although Lando Norris has not been catching up by ridiculous chunks of points every single race weekend, he has still been catching up by a few points here and there every single race weekend. And those few points here and there have meant that he's within a win's worth of points now. If he'd have got another point in the sprint and then sort of another 3 or 4 points in the race, then it's just whittling away at that championship lead as Lando Norris. And I think Oscar Piastri is realizing that sooner rather than later, he needs to get more points on the board than Lando Norris throughout a race weekend, because eventually, like, it's going to get to the point where those 5 points every single weekend would be enough for Lando Norris to take the championship lead, right? He's only 22 points off the back. 5 races to go. Let's say Lando Norris outscores Piastri by 5 points every weekend. That's 30 points. That's the championship. Like, so Oscar Piastri knows he needs to get some points on the board as well. And I think that was what forced to that error more than anything else. He saw his teammate right there, saw an opportunity to get ahead of him because he got a better start. He was probably thinking about Singapore as well, where Lando Norris kind of bumped into him a touch and maybe holding a touch of a grudge there to Lando Norris, and therefore I think just went for a move that didn't quite exist. Do I think that Max Verstappen, aka the GOAT, is going to win the World Drivers' Championship in 2025? No. We talked about it a little bit earlier, so rewind if you really want me to go through that again. But I do think he is in the battle now, whereas I would not have put him in the battle 3-4 weekends ago. Am I surprised about Nico Hülkenberg's performance in sprint quali? Yes, actually, just because his qualifying so far this year has been very hit and miss. Like, he's had a good few races post Spain where he got into a rhythm of scoring points pretty consistently, but then post summer break, it's kind of been all Gabriel Bortoleto when it's come to qualifying, right? Gabriel Bortoleto out-qualified Nico Hülkenberg, I think 7 times in a row. So qualifying has not been the place where Hülkenberg has been happy, but Hülkenberg getting a P4 in sprint quali, looking very good in free practice 1. Again, just kind of unlucky that he got sandwiched the way he did into turn 1 in the sprint. I think we're going to see Nico Hülkenberg. It wouldn't surprise me to see Nico Hülkenberg jumping up into Q3 once again and getting some points on the board tomorrow. Hey, Aaron Joy joining us on Twitch. Thank you for joining us on Twitch. Thank you for the follow over on Twitch. What we are now, 660 followers on Twitch. We are getting there. Remember, 700 followers is the goal. We're also aiming for 150,000 subscribers on YouTube. So if you want to go and subscribe on YouTube, that'd be absolutely amazing. And if you do want to follow us over on the Crash Happy podcast as well, it's me, Mr. Pulse, Mr. V, Dan No Skill, Formula Duck. We talk about Formula One and Formula One adjacent things. It is very, very fun. I'm really enjoying being part of the Crash Happy podcast. I think it's the best thing that I've done on YouTube so far. And that's saying something. I've been invited to some very cool things and been part of some very fun stuff. But the Crash Happy podcast is by far the best thing I've been involved in. Just trying to get the behind the scenes done and dusted so that it can start being a bit more fun. Because at the moment, it's a lot of paperwork that I'm filling out, feels like. Thank you, Leah May 11. Also followed the channel. Appreciate that. Twitch is getting closer and closer to that 700 follower mark. Maybe I'll do some gaming stuff. What gaming stuff would you like to see? If I was going to do some gaming stuff, what games would you like to see me play? Like, obviously, the Formula One game is maybe the obvious one, but what other kind of things would you be happy to watch? Like, random question, but am I British? Yes. Very, very much so. You maybe want to get to know banger racing now. It is very entertaining. Like, banger racing in the UK is actually really popular. It's a lot more popular than I thought it was. It is effectively a demolition derby, yeah. It is a lot of clattering of wheels. But it's just fun, right? And it's so accessible. Like, it was £20 to get in, and you got a free hot dog with that. Like, it was so good. Wreckfest would be good. Yeah, I definitely play some Wreckfest, to be fair. I think I missed that, though. I think Crash Happy, I think there was a Wreckfest video, but I think I missed the record of it. So I will not be in it. But there is a Wreckfest video possibly on the way. Just giving away so many spoilers to you guys. Don't tell anybody else. Also, don't tell the lads that I'm giving away what we've been recording, what's coming up on the channel. But I'm just letting you guys know. There's a lot of stuff coming over on Crash Happy. So if you're not subscribed, there'll be some fun videos coming up very, very soon. When is quali? We're about 3-4 minutes away. Shall we make sure that everything is set up? Let's go into the qualifying. Wrong one. Let's go into the qualifying stream. Bada bing, bada boom. Where's my mouse? There it is. That's now in the middle. Beautiful. Got the drivers. Lovely. Got the track. Beautiful. Oh, I've forgotten to change the track back into the mode where you can see the sectors. Settings. Live timings. Track map. Show sectors. There we go. Thoughts on the Singapore Grand Prix? It's a little bit of a snooze fest, but it was all right. Still my favorite. Not going to give up on it yet. Any issues with the cars for quali? Not that I can see. Lance Stroll has got himself a 5-place grid penalty. So wherever Lance Stroll qualifies, he will drop down 5 positions. Thank you, GameStar, for another super chat. Max is like Ayrton Senna. Piastri is like 0506 Alonso. Fearful of no one, including the defending champion. I like it. Yeah, I can see. Yeah, Piastri is kind of, as you say, just doesn't really care. like he obviously cares. Like, I feel like Oscar Piastri does have that little bit of kind of Kimi Räikkönen almost about him, where he's just so cool, calm, and collected that he just doesn't let anything get to him. And I think, to be fair, Piastri started the year with a mistake at his home Grand Prix in a race where he could have won his home Grand Prix, and therefore I don't think anything can really affect him anymore, right? He's had that horrendous moment, and now anything from that position onwards is just like, well, is what it is. We'll see what happens. Here we are then. We have got cars into the pit lane already. Max Verstappen trying to be overtaken, and I think Gabriel Bortoleto just sneaking his front wing ahead of the Red Bull so he can join the track before Max. I've just seen Zach Brown blamed Nico for the crash. I mean, that does kind of make sense, to be fair, though. Because, like, Nico Hülkenberg is not a McLaren driver, and therefore it's really easy for Zach Brown to go like, he did it. He's not one of my drivers, so I can just say he did it. What even is this game? This GameStar Dud chatting. GameStar Dud. The Instagram did sort of, but like, come on, it was Oscar. Yeah, it was Oscar, wasn't it? It just was Oscar. And it's not his fault. Like, he went for a move. I can understand why he went for it. But he has to live with the consequences of that move that he decided to make. Zach blaming Nico is like someone blaming the wall for crashing into it. Which software am I using to display the track info? This is Multiviewer. God, my brain is gone, man. This is Multiviewer. They are big supporters of the channel. There is a hat behind me that has the Multiviewer logo on it, and there is a link to Multiviewer if you do want to download it in the description, so you can have all of these screens and more for yourself to kind of peruse and go through. We'll be discussing them together. Thank you to everybody who has joined us. If you could hit the like button on the stream, that'd be absolutely amazing. Hit the subscribe button to the channel as well. Hello, my first stream. What do you think? Who do I think is going to win? I think pole position is likely Lando Norris or Max Verstappen. I don't think we're going to see that much of a difference right at the top of the grid in terms of qualifying versus sprint qualifying. But I do think there's going to be a little bit of a mix around in terms of down the bottom, where we've got, 5 drivers yesterday who didn't really get to improve on their lap times when they likely would have. So, is what it is. Not applicable. Show us the track. If you're on the short stream, I will not be showing the track for qualifying because it doesn't make sense to. Because you need to see the bottom 5 drivers. Otherwise, you won't know who's dropping out of qualifying. And if I do the race board for the vertical stream, you won't be able to see the bottom 10 drivers. If you want to see the track, though, head over to the main stream if you're on the short stream. Esteban Ocon then getting us underway with the first flying lap of the session. Let's zone in as we head into Q1. And Esteban Ocon, fastest of anybody through the first sector. As the only driver to have completed it. I think Pierre Gasly then takes that away from him. The man who's still at Alpine. Franco Colapinto, not quite as quick as his teammate through the first. Oh, Isaac Hadjar is just stationary on my screen. I'm worried Isaac Hadjar might have come to a stop. I think he has. Isaac Hadjar has come to a stop. Oh, and he's in the barriers. That is a big shunt from Isaac Hadjar. And Isaac Hadjar is going to pull out the first red flag of the session. The medical car has been deployed, so that will have been a big shunt for Isaac Hadjar. They have an automatic sensor inside of the car that when there is a crash, if that is triggered, then the medical car is sent automatically. But Isaac Hadjar, very, very frustrated with himself, knocking on his helmet, pulling on his steering wheel, trying to get himself out of the car. And is able to get the steering wheel off and looks okay, at least, for a big shunt. But a big, big crash from Isaac Hadjar that he is jumping out of the car and looks okay. Well, okay in the sense that he's very, very upset with himself, but he at least is able to walk away from that crash. So that is Isaac Hadjar then, the first casualty. So we're just looking for the other 4 drivers that are going to join Isaac Hadjar. Here we go then. Going through the S's and just loses the rear end of the car as he comes towards the end of turn 6. And yeah, there's not really much he could have done about it, to be honest. Like, the rear end of the car just slipped away from underneath him. And he's at the sort of highest speed part of those S's as well, where you're carrying the momentum as much as you possibly can through 4, 5, headed into 6. And then as he tries to do that turn 6, ends up in the tyre barriers. Nobody was able to set a fast lap there. Esteban Ocon was the closest to, but Behrman, Alonso, Bortoleto, Sonoda, Albon and Sainz all still out on track. The crane is now available to go and pick him up. And Isaac Hadjar then. Q3 in Singapore to Q1 in Texas. It is not a good weekend for Isaac Hadjar, but the benefit of going to Mexico next, where we know the Racing Bull cars are usually pretty competitive. So he'll be able to bounce back. Well, you know, this weekend's not over yet, but starting from 20th place is going to be not where he wanted to be. And tomorrow, I think, will be a long afternoon for Isaac Hadjar, but next weekend should be able to bounce back pretty significantly. Why is Max 19th? I mean, everybody is nowhere, really. Esteban Ocon was the only driver who got even close to setting a flying lap time, but was not able to complete it before Isaac Hadjar pulled out the red flags. We're just waiting for the barrier to be put back together again, as Isaac Hadjar's car has now been removed from the outside of turn 6. The big shunt into the tyre wall. And Zach Brown just talking about the cars. And Zach Brown just talking about the repairs that they made to the 2 McLaren cars and the fact that actually they decided to change around the rear end of both of the McLarens. I know, you know, Oscar Piastri took a big hit from Nico Hulkenberg towards the rear of his car, sent his car up in the air, which then broke his suspension, sent him flying into Lando Norris, who then also took a big shunt from his teammate at the back. Can anyone explain what just happened here? I mean, Isaac Hadjar lost control of his RB car, and Isaac Hadjar sent himself into the barriers after 3 minutes and 9 seconds of this session. We're now waiting for Isaac Hadjar's car to just be removed from turn 6. There you can see it's highlighted in orange in the screen just below me. So yellow flags waved in that sector as they continue to move that car off of the circuit. Everybody else has to make their way back to the pit lane, and they will restart the timer once that car has been removed and the barriers are put back together again. Have Lando and Oscar had a chat about what happened yet? I am sure they have. I'm sure that they've sat down with Zach Brown, Andrea Stella, everyone who they could keep a hold of, to be honest. Everyone who was involved in the behind the scenes at McLaren, I'm sure, will have been briefed about what they have to say about what happened. And I'm sure Lando and Oscar have had a civilized discussion about what happened. To be honest, like, Lando Norris in all of this is the victim, because Lando could do absolutely nothing at all. Like, there's nothing Lando Norris could have done. He was just a sitting duck at that point. And as soon as Oscar Piastri was heading towards the rear right tire or rear left tire of him, it was the end of his sprint race, wasn't it? There was not a lot that he could do from that point running forwards. We are just waiting for that sector to still run, and flags are being waved. Oh, yellow flags seem to be being sheathed and putting back into where they were. The track is now clear in Sector 9, according to the race control messages that we get in. So track is now clear in Sector 6. And we're going to be seeing some cars coming out of the garage. The Stakes Albers getting ready to go already. Ollie Behrman's Haas car also being prepared. Be interesting to see where he comes. He was very, very upset about, first and foremost, not getting to set a second flying lap in sprint qualifying 1 yesterday. And then also very upset with the 10-second penalty as well. So Ollie Behrman, the bit between his teeth going into this second competitive qualifying session of the weekend. But the session is still stopped. Everybody wants to get a couple of runs, though, and I think everybody trying to go out as soon as possible. Lando Norris blinks first of the two McLaren cars, and actually there is the pit lane swarmed with cars all at the same time. The Stakes Albers get to the front of the queue. The Williams is just behind. Then the Haas's slot into place. Liam Lawson there, the single RB. And Q1 will resume at 4:14. So they're going to have to sit in the pit lane for 3 or 4 minutes here. Those tyres are going to be slowly cooling down. They're going to have to get them back up to temperature once again. But it is a long queue in the pit lane as well. I would not like to be, I think it's either Max Verstappen or Yuki Tsunoda at the back of the queue. And it's going to be an interesting one from their perspective, because they're going to be sitting in that pit lane for a very, very long time. Max Verstappen's going to be sitting there for so long, he's actually put his visor up so he doesn't have to look through it while sitting in the pit lane. What's my opinion on the Oscar thing that happened today? Yeah, I think it was his fault. I think it was just his fault. Went for a move. I think he just kind of forgot it was turn 1. Oh, sorry, lap 1. Like, you can go for that move. If it was lap 2 and he went for that move, he'd have been absolutely fine because there wouldn't have been 16 cars running up behind him. Like, but there was, and he just kind of forgot that, I think. Thank you for subscribing. The 1976 F1 GPTX series. That's a mouthful, but thank you for subscribing. Appreciate it. We're getting towards 150,000 subscribers. That was the goal for the end of the year. Where are we at? October 17th. The last race in Abu Dhabi is the 5th of December. So we've got like a month and 3/4 to be able to try and get 10,000 subscribers. Gonna be tough. It's gonna be very tough indeed. Didn't help that I had to take a couple of months off making content because I was moving house. But we've still set the goal of 150,000 by the end of the year. So I'm going to commit to that. I'm going to try and commit to that for getting there towards the end of the season. Hopefully he learns from this and locks in. I mean, it's a learning season from Oscar Piastri. It's just a learning season where he also could end up being world champion. Like, Baku was also a big learning point for Oscar Piastri, I think. 50 seconds left before we get back underway with qualifying. And as I say, a huge queue of cars in the pit lane, which Oscar Piastri has now joined the back of. I don't know why he's even bothered coming out of the garage, to be honest. Like, could have just sat in the garage rather than having to sit in the pit lane because he's going to be there for a very, very long time. Oh, no, sorry, it's Lando Norris. Oscar Piastri is in the garage. I thought I thought Lando Norris got out earlier than that. But I suppose with McLaren being so far down the pit lane compared to the rest of the teams, he still ended up coming out at the back of the pack. And he's kind of positioned himself further away from Max Verstappen than I thought, so didn't see him before. Here we are then. We are back underway. The track is clear. The green light is shown at the end of the pit lane. And Nico Hülkenberg is going to get us back underway with some racing here. Gabriel Bortoleto, his teammate, also there as well. Scrub set of tyres as well. I think the majority will. I don't know, actually. It depends if you think you're going to be able to get 2 laps in. Like, you could go out on that scrubbed set that you were just about to set a lap time on anyway. But then you're risking it because you do have to try and get 2 laps in because, you know, everyone else, if they do go for fresh softs, putting yourself at a disadvantage. I feel like, especially for these guys, Hülkenberg, Bortoleto, Albon, Sainz, Behrman, Ocon, where you'd expect a good few of them to get through to Q3, but maybe not all of them to get through to Q3. I think that makes sense for them to slot in now and get a fresh set of tyres on to try and guarantee themselves getting out of Q1. Lewis Hamilton also still in the garage for Ferrari, deciding not to join the chaotic queue that was lurking. Oh, thank you for the follow over on Twitch. DCLMSMS9126520491. Thank you for the follow. We're on what, 662 now over on Twitch, so we're getting there. Slowly but surely, getting there. And 100 super chat as well. Thank you, GameStar70. I hope Piastri gives payback to Norris in the race for the last race. I mean, he kind of got his payback a little bit in the sprint race, right? He absolutely smashed him to pieces in the sprint earlier on today. Got really itchy nose today as well. Apologies. Nico Hülkenberg then manages to come through and is setting a flying lap. Comes through the first sector, 25.587 from Nico Hülkenberg, and sets the fastest first sector of anybody so far. There wasn't many drivers that actually managed to finish the first sector before the red flag, but Nico Hülkenberg has been able to do it this time around. Has to get past George Russell as he goes into turn 11. That's just meant he's gone very wide. Nico Hülkenberg having to deal with George Russell ahead of him. And then very, very bumpy down towards turn 12, but very nicely hits the apex, does the German driver. And fastest of anybody through the middle sector as well is going to set the standard there. Ollie Behrman has just gone quicker than anybody through the first sector. Gabriel Bortoletta actually goes quicker than his teammate through the middle sector, probably because Hulkenberg went wide at turn 11. Carlos Sainz has just come through the first sector as well. Sonoda and Lawson. Lando Norris just making his way through turn 6. Keeping an eye on the McLarens and how they get on. TTV, thank you for following over on Twitch as well. We're absolutely smashing the Twitch followers today. Trying to get to 700 before the end of the season. I think we're going to absolutely fly. Guessing I saw the crash? I did. I very much did. Oh, and Carlos Sainz abandons that lap, deciding it's not going to be good enough. Nico Hulkenberg was quicker than his teammate in the end, a 134.3 from Hulkenberg, a Bortoletto a 134.7. Here comes Ollie Behrman. He splits the Stake Sauber cars and goes second fastest. Bortoletto 3.5 tenths of his teammate. Behrman within a tenth of Nico Hulkenberg. And Max Verstappen starts his flying lap then. Let's see what Max Verstappen has got in the tank. Esteban Ocon comes across the line, slower than his teammate by just over a tenth, and slots into third place in qualifying 1. Just over 10 minutes left on the clock after that red flag from Isaac Hadjar. Liam Lawson now goes quickest of anybody, his teammate, and is a 10.5 quicker than Nico Hulkenberg's lap, which was previously fastest. Here comes Fernando Alonso to take a chunk out of the timing screens. Goes into the 133s, and it's a 0.741 from Fernando. Max Verstappen, though, goes quickest of anybody through the first sector, coming down towards turn 12 now. And through the second sector goes Max Verstappen. I'm expecting this to be purple as well. And Max Verstappen, no, not purple, through the middle sector. George Russell quicker than anybody else through the middle part of the lap, but Russell only second fastest overall. He's a tenth of a second slower than Fernando Alonso. Charles Leclerc is looking to put his first flying lap in just behind in the Ferrari as well. Keep an eye on Leclerc because he's in a little bit of trouble yesterday. Only just managed to sneak through to SQ3. But now on the soft compound tyres might play into his favour. Max Verstappen does indeed go quickest of anybody. A 133.590 from Verstappen. Verstappen then looking very strong indeed. Lance Stroll and Franco Colapinto down in 10th and 11th now. Charles Leclerc just finds a little bit of pace, particularly in that final sector. And 0.06 of a second quicker than Max Verstappen. Verstappen was on a used set of tyres, it has to be said. Charles Leclerc on a fresh set, but quicker nonetheless. Oscar Piastri a little bit wide at turn 11, but now has the DRS down towards turn 12, the current championship leader. Damage to that McLaren car in the sprint and having to get used to the new setup of it. Just a little bit of oversteer through turn 12 as well, Oscar Piastri, and not looking the cleanest lap from the Australian. Lando Norris ahead of him out on track, just trying to make their way through some traffic. Piastri coming around turn 19, has to get past Russell and Norris. And here comes Oscar Piastri around the final corner. And goes only 5th fastest. As I say, it just didn't feel like a vintage lap from Oscar Piastri. And Lando Norris is now going to start his first real attempt. Albon and Sainz yet to set flying lap times in their Williams cars. Albon coming around turn 12 now. And Carlos Sainz on turn 11. Then we will have seen everybody who is still in, at least, as Isaac Hadjar is out of the session. We're looking for those 4 drivers who can join him in the bottom 5. Lando Norris. Oh, and loses it and goes off. So Lando Norris through turn 10 makes a big mistake, and that's going to be the end of his flying lap because it will be deleted anyway for track limits. And also he lost about half a second there going off and losing control of his McLaren car. So Lando Norris is not going to set a lap time. Carlos Sainz and Alex Albon. Albon does set a lap time. It's only 16th fastest. And Carlos Sainz is just coming around the final corner. And where does Sainz slot in? He goes 4th fastest as Carlos Sainz and puts Franco Colapinto down into that bottom 5. So it is Colapinto, Albon, Bortoleto and Norris that need to improve. Isaac Hadjar out after a big shunt with the barriers and a red flag being waved. Still 6 minutes and 17 seconds left on the clock, though. And Lando out in Q1. I mean, he needs to improve. Let's not say it yet. That would be very, very bitter pill to swallow if Lando Norris does drop out in Q1 here. 22 points behind his teammate. His teammate then wipes him out in sprint race where he would have gained at least a place or a point. And Lando Norris is going again straight away. So Lando Norris not coming into the pits and resetting those tyres. So this is going to be probably it for Lando Norris because by the time he gets around, unless it is a swift pit stop, he is not going to be able to do another lap once more. Norris and Albon both with track limits violations. So Albon had a lap time deleted as well. Convinced this guy's a robot. Thank you, Terra. I'll take that as a compliment. Try my best. Lando Norris then. Ooh, again. A little bit shaky through turn 11, Lando Norris. But smoother through turn 10 and not breaking track limits at least. DRS now open for Lando Norris. He goes down towards turn 12. Let's have a little look at this second sector time. It was a 25.3 through the first sector and is fastest of anybody through the middle sector and is 0.6 of a second quicker than Lance Stroll's time through the middle part of the lap. So looking very solid indeed from Lando Norris and not look like he is going to go anywhere near the drop zone in this one. Norris then round 19 through 20 he goes and he's going to jump up in the standings to 7th place overall. 133.8 from Lando Norris. And that might be it, you know, because needs a couple of minutes to get back around and then a couple of minutes to do another lap again. So we're probably not going to see Lando Norris improve on that lap time. He is 0.3 off Charles Leclerc's lap time at the moment. It wouldn't take a ridiculous amount for him to be under pressure. I don't think he's going to drop down into that bottom 5, but I certainly don't think it's going to be the nicest of qualifying sessions for Lando Norris to watch as the lap times start to tumble from the other drivers on the grid. Lando Norris was quickest in the middle sector, now taken by George Russell, who is quickest of anybody through the middle part of the lap. Yuki Tsunoda has also made a little error through the first part of the lap and has not been able to improve. Tsunoda only 12th fastest at the moment. He's a little bit better off through the middle part of the lap where he does actually make improvements. And George Russell goes quickest of anybody by 0.2 of a second. And this is what I mean by the lap times are going to start coming towards these drivers now. The tyres are going to be rubbering in. Sorry, the track is going to be rubbering in. The tyres are going to be at optimal temperatures. And Tsunoda coming around the final corner needs to improve. Only 9th fastest. Can't go quicker than Piastri or Norris. Kimi Antonelli comes across the line and Mercedes currently have a 1-2 lockout on the board. 2 minutes and 20 seconds to go. Looking very nice indeed for the Mercedes duo. They do look a bit more comfortable on the soft compound tyre compared to the mediums. Although Kimi Antonelli, a little bit of oversteer through turn 9 and bounces around through turn 10 as well. Antonelli busy, but keeping it on the racetrack and putting a fairly decent lap time in. He was 2/10 off George Russell's time. Max Verstappen has gone slower than his previous lap time through the first sector. Has improved in the second sector though, and only 300ths of a second slower than George Russell as they go through the middle part of the lap. Gasly, Lawson, Hulkenberg, Behrman, Ocon will all be looking at that and wanting to improve. Lance Stroll, Colapinto, Alex Albon and Gabriel Bortoleto, the 4 drivers that would currently join Isaac Hadjar, as Max Verstappen goes quickest of anybody in the final sector and quickest of anybody over a lap. 1:33.207 from Verstappen puts him 1/10 of a second quicker than George Russell and top of the timing sheets. But it's the bottom 5 that we're worried about right now. We know Isaac Hadjar is going to be in there. Gabriel Bortoleto, currently 19th fastest of anybody, but improving in the first and second sectors. Needs to improve just a little bit more in this final part of the lap. Does he come across the line? Goes 14th fastest, Gabriel Bortoleto. That's going to be right on the fringes of what might get you through. Here comes Lance Stroll to go 11th fastest in his Aston Martin. So Bortoleto now right on the bubble of it. Can Esteban Ocon get him out? No, Ocon slower by 11 thousandths of a second than Bortoleto. Bortoleto currently looking okay, although Franco Colapinto's just come through and done a very solid middle sector. He's got 1/10 of a second on Gabriel Bortoleto. And Liam Lawson jumps up into 5th place. So Lawson a very swift lap time. Here comes Pierre Gasly, goes 7th fastest, but it's Franco Colapinto that we've got eyes on. Ocon and Stroll are going to be out. But Colapinto and Albon looking to improve. In fact, Alex Albon's just gone quickest of anybody through that first part of the lap. So Colapinto comes across the line, does go quicker than Bortoleto. So Bortoleto is going to be down in that bottom 5 once again. But Alex Albon has the opportunity to break Argentinian hearts. Franco Colapinto's first teammate in Formula 1. He's come through the middle sector and he's got 3/10 of a second to play with here, Alex Albon. He has got 3/10 of a second on Franco Colapinto and 1 sector to run. It is a tricky sector though, and there's a little bit of traffic for Alex Albon to contend with. There's a Stakes Albacar he's got to round and an Ollie Behrman in his way as well. Albon, though, deals with it, comes round 19, clean, comes round turn 20. This is surely going to knock Franco Colapinto out, and does indeed. Alex Albon goes 8th fastest of anybody, and Franco Colapinto drops into the bottom 5. And a lap time deleted from Lance Stroll has also sent him to the bottom of the pile. So it is Colapinto, Bortoleto, Ocon, and Stroll who drop into the bottom 5. Isaac Hadjar guaranteed to be in there after he crashed his RB car 4 minutes into the session. Ocon and Stroll starting side by side feels like a recipe for disaster after what happened in the sprint race, but they will be starting 18th and 19th. Lance Stroll taking a 5-place penalty, actually, sorry. So Lance Stroll will be starting behind Esteban Ocon. Isaac Hadjar will gain 1 position on Lance Stroll, even though he didn't take part in qualifying. Piastri and Norris will be up there 11th and 12th. Oh. And Alex Albon, lap time deleted, sorry. Lap time deleted from Alex Albon. Colapinto, the Argentinian fans can breathe a sigh of relief. Albon's lap time was deleted. Let's have a little look where he went wrong. Track limits. Alex Albon, it was turn 15 where Alex Albon broke the track limits. And therefore, violation from Alex Albon. Done and dusted. Also track limits violation on lap 4, which was why he gave up on that lap. So Alex Albon with a pretty scruffy qualifying after double points finish for Williams in the sprint race. And yeah, there it is. Just goes a touch wide, possibly in the wake of the couple of cars ahead of him. It's actually when he was dealing with, yeah, Stake Sauber ahead of him. Ooh, and Alex Albon feels like his front tyres were on. He wants that to be checked. But that is very unlucky from Alex Albon. If it is marginal. And Lance Stroll the same, actually. Lance Stroll went wide at turn 12. And again, it was marginal. But Lance Stroll looks more like he is fully off the track. Alex Albon will be discussing that with the stewards. And the Williams team will be sending an email right now, I would imagine, as they're getting prepared for Q2. And Hulkenberg, my God, I'm dumb. He is top 6. Lawson, best of the rest. P5. Verstappen, quickest of anybody. No shock there, really. Russell and Antonelli come into the fore all of a sudden. The Mercedes car's looking pretty swift. Charles Leclerc, 4th fastest overall as well. Hamilton dipping down a little bit to 8th place. Piastri and Norris, though, both struggling. And again, it makes you wonder. You know, they've had to make changes to both of those McLaren cars. A lot of new parts will have been put on those cars. And the balance would have changed. They've maybe lost a bit of the confidence that they had through free practice and qualifying yesterday. It's tough to get back into the swing of things when the car feels different to the car that you've been running in previous sessions throughout the weekend. And they haven't had long to adapt to it. They've gone straight from crashing into one another into a competitive session. There's no free practice. They have obviously the laps to build up to the flying lap to have a little feel of the car, but I'm a little bit worried about the two McLarens, if I'm honest. They were not looking swift and not looking comfortable. Lando Norris with a lap time deleted, and they would be out if it was Q2. Luckily for them, just Q1. Piastri, Norris, Behrman, Tsunoda and Colapinto, the 5 drivers that get themselves through but need to improve if they're going to make themselves available for Q3 running. Verstappen, Russell, Antonelli, Leclerc, Lawson, Hulkenberg, Gasly, Hamilton, Sainz and Alonso, the 10 drivers that will be hoping to stop them from doing so and get themselves through into the final part of qualifying for today. Thank you guys all for joining me as well, should say. If you could smash the like button, that would be absolutely brilliant. Maybe subscribe to the channel if you're watching on YouTube, or if you're over on Twitch, give it a follow. Be absolutely amazing. Dan will be happy with Alonso. Not quite yet. I think he's got to get himself some points on the board, really. Do you guys listen to the late breaking F1 podcast? I have listened to a few here and there, but let's not, give a competitor too much airtime. Nah, they're good guys, actually. I'd like to do something with them in the future if I ever got the opportunity to do so. Here we go then. About 25 seconds until we get back underway. Q2 will start at 4:36 local time. And already we've got drivers heading to the end of the pit lane now. And again, a little bit of a queue. I think everybody learning from yesterday's sprint quali, where not a lot of drivers got over the start-finish line at the end of the session to actually get their faster laps in. So everybody wanting to go fairly early, get a lap in fairly soon. But Lando Norris in the queue and on the radio. And Lando Norris wanting a steering wheel swap because the whole left grip has come off. So that's not going to be the most fun to drive on this first flying lap. But here we are. Behrman and Antonelli, the first drivers out on track. Teammates last year in Formula 2. Now rivals in Formula 1. Antonelli in a very different circumstance, though, to Ollie Behrman, the Haas car. Very debatable throughout the season. Antonelli in one of the big four teams. George Russell, his teammate, following in behind. Liam Lawson has also come out onto the track. Franco Colapinto next in the queue will be followed by his teammate Pierre Gasly. Nico Hülkenberg also lurking, but the two Williams cars, I think, able to just get ahead. Oh, sorry, one Williams car. I thought Alex Albon had made it through. I forgot he got his lap time deleted. Apologies, Albon fans. Carlos Sainz has made his way to the end of the pit lane. Thank you, Truzul, for following the Twitch channel. Massively appreciated. Is there more to quali, or is it just to set the grid? It is just to set the grid, Javier. But the grid is very, very important. Wouldn't say just to set the grid. Fernando Alonso's made his way out onto track as well. Nico Hülkenberg joining them. But it's going to be Ollie Behrman who is the first driver to set a flying lap. So he comes across the start-finish line now. So keep an eye on Oliver Behrman's times. Lando Norris just making his way to the end of the pit lane. See what he can do with a gripless wheel in front of him. Kimi Antonelli also starts his flying lap as Max Verstappen has to move out of the way of the young Italian. And Antonelli comes through turn 1 to start another flying lap in Formula 1. He is very swift through that first sector. It looks very smooth from Kimi Antonelli. From the sight that we can see, I'm sure inside of the car, though, he's wrestling with that Mercedes car, beating the life out of it to get as much lap time as possible. Oh, Truzul, subscribe to the channel as well. Thank you so much for subscribing. Massively appreciate that. If you have got Amazon Prime, you can just subscribe to the Twitch channel for free. You know, if you're watching on YouTube and you're thinking, I've got Amazon Prime, you are leaving money on the table if you are not subscribed to somebody over on Twitch. Like, it's literally free. Go over to Twitch, use your Twitch Prime on myself, supports the stream, and Jeff Bezos loses out on some money. It's a win-win. Kimi Antonelli then comes through the second part of the lap, still quickest of anybody. George Russell, his teammate behind, can't improve on Kimi Antonelli's time, but the fastest first sector has just been taken by Carlos Sainz. Carlos Sainz comes in and steals the first sector fastest time. Kimi Antonelli goes quicker than Behrman by just by 0.2 of a second. And Antonelli jumps up into top spot for now. George Russell was slower than his teammate in the first and second sectors, and slower than his teammate across the whole lap as well. George Russell, third fastest of anybody, and 3.5 tenths of Kimi Antonelli's lap time for now. Liam Lawson then displaces George Russell and takes third spot. Carlos Sainz was the man to watch as he was fastest through the first sector. Not able to improve on Kimi Antonelli's time through the middle part of the lap, though. Antonelli still dominating that part of the racetrack. Lando Norris also can't beat Carlos Sainz in the first sector. That's now taken by Max Verstappen, is the quickest man in the first sector right now, and is just coming up towards turn 11 on our screens. Carlos Sainz, though, coming around the final corner, goes second fastest. It was going to be tight. He is just under 1/10 of a second slower than Kimi Antonelli. It's a very tidy lap from Carlos Sainz. The single Williams car still in qualifying. Lando Norris, though, goes quickest in the middle sector, so he takes that away from Kimi Antonelli and now has a 1/10.5 on Kimi Antonelli's lap time going into the final part of the lap. Max Verstappen also improving in the middle part of the lap, looking to go to the top spot of the timing sheets. Lando Norris and Max Verstappen fighting it out right now for first and second place, as long as their final sectors are still tidy. Lando Norris comes around the final corner and goes to top spot for now, but Max Verstappen is not far behind. Here comes Max Verstappen around turn 20, the Mario Andretti corner, and goes to the top of the timing sheets. Lando Norris 0.2 of a second slower than Max Verstappen overall, and Oscar Piastri still fighting with his McLaren car and not looking very comfortable at all. Oscar Piastri is a few tenths of a second down on Max Verstappen, is only just quicker than the guys towards the back end of the top 10 right now. Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton have also come out in their Ferraris. Here comes Oscar Piastri to go 5th fastest. It's a couple of tenths quicker than Yuki Tsunoda, who was in 10th place previously, but it's not a wonderful time from Oscar Piastri, and he'll certainly need to improve to make sure that he gets through to Q3 guaranteed. Current championship leader under pressure. Charles Leclerc then comes across the line to go 2nd fastest, quickest of anybody in the final sector, and Charles Leclerc has suddenly found a little bit more balance inside of this Ferrari car. Hamilton comes across the line to go 4th fastest. Maybe the Ferraris, we underestimated them. Now they're on the soft compound tyre, looking a lot more comfortable in this second qualifying session of the weekend. Yesterday was pretty abysmal. As Franco Colapinto nearly has a moment, manages to just about catch his Alpine car, and Pierre Gasly also nearly had a moment at turn 20. Lap time deleted for Pierre Gasly, and Franco Colapinto lap time not worth talking about. So both of the Alpines with control losses. Yuki Tsunoda not very happy at all with Liam Lawson. And Liam Lawson possibly slowing down Yuki Tsunoda on purpose. Well, that's what Yuki Tsunoda has said anyway. I mean, it's not impeding Yuki Tsunoda as such, but Liam Lawson certainly not getting out of the way of Yuki Tsunoda either. It's a bit of a one-on-one, isn't it, between Lawson and Tsunoda? Certainly not friends with one another. Lawson, though, down in 11th, Russell 12th, Tsunoda 13th, Colapinto 14th, and Gasly 15th. So Russell down into that bottom 5. Under pressure to perform. Currently, Nico Hülkenberg, the man on the bubble. Ollie Behrman doing a lot better than he managed yesterday in sprint qualifying. Dropped out in sprint qualifying 1, remember. Fernando Alonso in 8th place as well. Piastri only 7th. So 6.5 minutes left on the clock. And a lot of drivers that still need to improve to make sure that they're through. I think Max Verstappen's pretty safe. Charles Leclerc, Lando Norris similar. But even Lewis Hamilton, I know he's only a couple of times shy. I think we'll want to improve just a little bit more. Antonelli certainly. Papaya getting packed by tractor racing. Ouch. Oscar could be at risk. He looks really uncomfortable in that car. I think so. I think Lando Norris has found a little bit of his groove once again. But you got to remember, Piastri was also quite a bit slower in sprint qualifying yesterday. So Piastri not having the best of times. And it's just a bit of a pickle that Oscar Piastri finds himself in, right? He's just not comfortable in the car. Then damaged it in sprint qualifying, so it's probably even less comfortable in the car because he's had to change around a few bits and pieces. Carlos Sainz inside of the Williams car, the sole Williams that made it through. Just for those of you joining us now, it was Bortoletto, Ocon, Stroll, Albon who joined Isaac Hadjar in the bottom 5. Hadjar with a big crash. So 4 minutes into the session, bringing out the red flags. So he was guaranteed to be out. Oscar's not really ever strong around COTA. I mean, he's only been here twice, but yeah, I know what you mean. It's not a track that is amazing for him. But we expect a little bit more than 7th fastest. Qualified 3rd yesterday for the sprint So not over yet, but just a little bit of pressure on Piastri to improve a touch before we go into the final part of qualifying. Tsunoda has come out first of anybody, not wanting Liam Lawson to be in the way of him. Nico Hülkenberg has come out second. Russell and Antonelli also getting a move on. And George Russell actually on a flying lap. Sorry, George Russell came out ages ago. I missed that completely. Russell on a flying lap. I was looking at the lap times. George Russell just snuck out of the pits and is going very early indeed. He's found a couple of tenths of a second in the first sector over Nico Hülkenberg's current 10th place time. So George Russell lighting up that first part of the track. Now going into Q2. Gets a little bit of a tow from Yuki Tsunoda, who then moves out of the way of George Russell. Russell DRS wide open down towards turn 12. It's really difficult to see on the screen, but there is a little bit of a bump just before you go into the braking zones of turn 12, and it just can unsettle the car a little bit if you're not careful. George Russell gets around turn 12 and 13 nicely, though, enters the final sector. Again, improving on his lap time before. Nico Hülkenberg under pressure and will drop into that bottom 5 once George Russell finishes this lap then. Russell round turn 19 and turn 20 to complete this lap time with 3 minutes on the clock. Tsunoda just coming around the final sector as well to start his final flying lap. So George Russell goes 6th fastest. Still not as quick as Kimi Antonelli. And he's going to have to improve on that if he does manage to get through to Q3, because we were not expecting George Russell to start from 6th place or possibly lower. Oscar Piastri still in the pits, by the way. I think coming out last of anybody, but 2 minutes and 25 seconds on the clock. We saw yesterday that if you leave it too late, you can sometimes just sort of cause yourself a bit of a trouble. Saw it in sprint qualifying 1 where a lot of the back markers didn't get a final lap. Oscar Piastri coming out of the pits with 2 minutes exactly to go on. I know it's a 1:32 lap time at the moment, but Piastri won't be doing that on a out lap. Keep an eye on him. Yuki Tsunoda then improving, currently 13th fastest. Nico Hülkenberg down in 11th, also improving through the first sector. So Tsunoda and Hülkenberg just making their way around. George Russell gets out of the way of Tsunoda. Tsunoda is a poor middle sector though, and he's the wrong side of Ollie Behrman's lap time as he comes through that middle part of the lap. Nico Hülkenberg also doesn't improve in the middle sector, but is at least improving on his own lap time and improving on Ollie Behrman's current 10th place lap time. Yuki Tsunoda doesn't feel like this is going to be quick enough. Needs to be a really, really good final sector from the Japanese driver. And doesn't. He is 13th fastest and he is out. Yuki Tsunoda misses Q3 once more. Nico Hülkenberg comes around the final corner and also doesn't improve. It was a bad final sector from Nico Hülkenberg. So Hülkenberg is going to be out as well. Kimi Antonelli also doesn't improve on his lap time, and everybody's struggling towards the end of this final part of qualifying. Franco Colapinto has improved a touch through the first sector. Just coming down towards turn 11, the Argentine yet to set a respective lap time in this second part of qualifying. Ollie Behrman, the driver to beat at the moment. Behrman and Alonso within 1,000th of a second, though. So if you beat Behrman, you beat Alonso, really. Oscar Piastri still on an out lap. 15 seconds left to run. It's going to be very tight for Oscar Piastri as Franco Colapinto loses the car just a touch through that middle sector. He's 0.4 of a second down on Ollie Behrman through that middle part of the lap. It is not going to be a vintage lap from Franco Colapinto, and I think he is going to be out as well. Pierre Gasly is a lot closer, though. He's only 0.02 of a second slower than Ollie Behrman's current lap time right now. Alonso and Behrman, nothing they can do from 9th and 10th place. Here comes Colapinto and Gasly. I don't think Colapinto is going to be able to do it. He doesn't. He is 0.8 of a second slower than Ollie Behrman. But Pierre Gasly, can he get himself into the top 10? It's coming around the final corner now. The Frenchman only goes 14th fastest. Lost quite a chunk of time in that final sector. Pierre Gasly lost nearly 0.4 of a second in the final sector. Pierre Gasly. Lewis Hamilton safe for now then. Just coming down towards turn 12. Will he back out of this flying lap? It's a little bit wide through turn 12, Lewis Hamilton. And doesn't need to improve any further. He knows he's going to be through in 4th place there. Oscar Piastri also coming out last meant that he could judge the positions of everybody else and can breathe a sigh of relief as he does make it through, even if he was only 8th fastest in his McLaren. And Liam Lawson had a lap time deleted. So Lawson down in 12th place. There we are then. Let's see this onboard from Ollie Behrman. Was there a little mistake from the Haas driver? He still made it through. Ooh, and a big snap from Ollie Behrman. Could have been very similar to the Isaac Hadjar incident. Ollie Behrman just about able to catch the back of that Haas car, but certainly a few drivers finding it tricky through those S's. And Nico Hülkenberg, that's where his lap time was deleted. He went wide at turn 19, like many drivers have done before him and many drivers will do in the future. But Nico Hülkenberg out of qualifying, 11th fastest. And it was 4th fastest for him in sprint qualifying yesterday. Remember, Nico Hülkenberg out in 11th and not inside the point scoring places. Lawson starts 12th, Tsunoda starts 13th, Gasly 14th, and Franco Colapinto, the final driver to drop out of Q2, will start in 15th place. For those of you just joining us, they're going to join Gabriel Bortoleto, Esteban Ocon, Lance Stroll, Alex Albon, and Isaac Hadjar down in the bottom 5. Lance Stroll also with a 5-place grid penalty. So Albon is going to start 18th, Hadjar is going to start 19th. Lance Stroll will start in 20th place. Obviously, assuming that Isaac Hadjar doesn't have to start from the pit lane after that huge shunt that he did have in Q1. 10 drivers remain then, and the top 10 shootout is just a couple of minutes away. We have got Max Verstappen, Charles Leclerc, Lando Norris, our top 3 from Q2. Charles Leclerc entering the battle all of a sudden, isn't he? Max Verstappen, pole position yesterday for the sprint. Lando Norris was his closest competitor, but Charles Leclerc splitting the difference. Lewis Hamilton also up there in 4th spot. The 2 Mercedes cars 5th and 6th fastest. Carlos Sainz, 7th fastest, makes it all the way through in his Williams. Oscar Piastri, current championship leader, was only 8th fastest in Q2. And then Alonso and Behrman, the final 2 drivers to manage to get themselves in. There's only 1,000th of a second between them. And actually only a 100th of a second between Piastri and Behrman. So very tight between those 3 at the end of qualifying there. But they all did just enough. As Hülkenberg was then another 10th adrift. Who are we going for then? Get your predictions in the chat. It's your final opportunity to do so before the big opportunity that Max Verstappen has now. 8 points gained on the 2 McLarens. Could it be another 7 points gained on whoever comes second, whether it's Norris or Piastri, in tomorrow's race? He's starting from pole position, puts himself in the best place to do so. Charles Leclerc also starting to worry the McLarens as he gets in and amongst the party. If Max Verstappen comes first and Charles Leclerc comes second, that means Lando Norris will lose another 10 points to Verstappen. And Oscar Piastri might be even further down. And Yuki Tsunoda not very happy at all with the traffic that he's come into. Again, Yuki Tsunoda complaining that he's being blocked on his fast laps. But let me know your thoughts then. Who is going to claim pole position? And where are sort of the top 5, really, you could say? Where are they going to be? I think it's very tight between them. Max Verstappen feels like he's got the advantage, but Leclerc, Norris, Piastri, Hamilton, even Russell and Antonelli might be in and amongst it. Sainz, Alonso, Behrman fighting it out for best of the rest in the midfield. Carlos Sainz looking like he's got that on lock. Carlos Sainz with a podium place, of course, earlier today in the sprint race, looking completely rejuvenated since the summer break. Carlos Sainz, and much, much happier inside of that Williams car. Ollie Behrman is into the pit lane already, leaving nothing to chance. The Haas car on American home soil. Ollie Behrman making his way through his first season with the team. 2 minutes on the board then before we have 12 minutes of qualifying to determine who will be starting at the front of the grid for tomorrow. Again, just in case you're joining us now, we've had Hulkenberg, Lawson, Tsunoda, Gasly and Colapinto drop out in Q2. Those 5 drivers will be starting 11th through 15th. And Bortoletto, Ocon, Stroll, Albon and Hadjar were the 5 drivers to drop out in Q1. Lance Stroll with a 5-place grid penalty as well. So Lance Stroll will drop to the back of that pack. I'm worried. I'm a little bit worried. Only way Max not getting pole is if he crashes. Oof. I don't know. Feel like Lando Norris has been pretty quick. It was tight between them in sprint qualifying yesterday. If Lando Norris can just get back to feeling comfortable in that car again, maybe, just maybe, he'll be able to do it. Thank you to all of you watching, though. If you could hit that like button, hit the subscribe button as well. That'd be absolutely amazing. And 669 followers over on Twitch now. Getting much, much closer to that 700 mark. We set that as our goal for the end of the season. We might be able to absolutely smash that by the looks of things, considering we only started the Twitch streams, well, once I'd moved house, because I was able to update my internet so that it could actually handle it. Here we are then. Lewis Hamilton has made his way into the pit lane. 20 seconds to go. I think Oscar will win the championship. Archie, I really hope so too. Either one of the McLarens, really. Here we go. Max P1, Russell P2, Leclerc P3, Piastri P4, Hamilton P5. Jesus, Plane Geek. You've forgotten Lando Norris exists, or you just really don't have faith in Lando Norris to get anywhere near the top 5 positions? That is harsh. I love how unapologetically you show your love for Lando while wearing a Mercedes shirt. I mean, I am a McLaren fan. I just got bought a Mercedes shirt. I'm not going to wear it, you know. Somebody gives you a shirt for free and it's like, here is a present. You're not going to be like, no. So, yeah, wearing a Mercedes shirt, but I wear a lot of different Formula One merchandise. I'm still a McLaren fan through and through. Don't you worry yourself. On that note, Piastri has made his way out earlier in this part of the session, so was going very late, Oscar Piastri, last time around, and clearly didn't suit him. So going earlier this time around. Ollie Behrman was still the first man out onto the track, though. He was lining up with 2 minutes to go. George Russell behind him. Antonelli out on track as well. Charles Leclerc has just come through turn 1. Carlos Sainz and Lewis Hamilton joining them on track. Lando Norris next in the queue in the pit lane. Ollie Behrman is just completing the second sector, getting his tyres into the right place. And Norris and Alonso are in the pit lane. Can't see Max Verstappen at the moment. And here he comes. Max Verstappen does indeed exit the Red Bull pit garage and is just going to slot in just behind Fernando Alonso. I think Max Verstappen leaving it as late as possible, allowing Alonso to just run up towards turn 1 before he even gets to the end of the pit lane. And Max Verstappen's going to have a lovely, clean track in front of him when he goes for his flying lap. On that note, Ollie Behrman has just started his, so let's keep an eye on the Briton in the Haas. Dropped out in SQ1 yesterday. Ollie Behrman was not very happy about it at all. Knew he had some pace inside of that Haas car. And now getting the opportunity to show it in the full qualifying session. Oscar Piastri also starts his first flying lap of this session. P8 in Q2. We'll be looking to improve on that substantially before the start of tomorrow's Grand Prix. Ollie Behrman, not too shabby through the first sector, and in fact he's quicker than Oscar Piastri by 0.003 of a second. So Piastri and Behrman basically identical through the first part of the lap. George Russell, though, goes 0.003 of a second quicker than both of them. So Russell a lot quicker than the first sector. And Piastri and Behrman both on scrubbed set of tyres, though. George Russell on a fresh set of softs. Here comes Kimi Antonelli. Antonelli not very quick at all through the first sector, actually. Kimi Antonelli struggling to get that Mercedes car into the right rhythm through the S's. Here comes Charles Leclerc. 25.238 from him. Lewis Hamilton has just started his flying lap. Lando Norris coming around turn 20 as well. Keep an eye on the other McLaren driver, but Ollie Behrman is going to set the standard as he comes across the start-finish line and goes for a 1:33.1. Ollie Behrman. Here comes Oscar Piastri, who is a little quicker than Behrman through the middle part of the lap, but basically identical through the first part of the lap. Should take provisional pole position from here. Doesn't take provisional pole position from here. 0.3 of a second slower, and it's that final sector from Oscar Piastri was pretty horrendous. Piastri slower than Behrman. George Russell, though, does indeed take top spot for now. Russell a couple attempts quicker than Oliver Behrman's time. Goes to P1. Kimi Antonelli comes across the line to go P2. 1/10.5 slower than his teammate. Ollie Behrman, very swift indeed, but wouldn't have expected Oscar Piastri to be behind him at this point. Sainz is going quickly, but Max Verstappen, who was the last man to start his flying lap, the last man through the first sector and the quickest man through the first sector. Lando Norris is 0.04 of a second slower than George Russell through the middle part of the lap. Carlos Sainz comes across the line to go fourth fastest, but Lando Norris needs a good final sector to take provisional pole here. Otherwise, it is going to be in the hands of George Russell. Usually pretty quick through that final sector, though. Very comfortable through turn 19. The McLaren car gripping really nicely through those final corners. A little correction through turn 20, but it's just good enough. It is 0.5 of a second quicker than George Russell, but here comes Verstappen, and Verstappen is biting at the time in front of him. He is chomping up the road. He is absolutely flying. Fastest of anybody through the middle part of the lap. Fernando Alonso comes across the line to go 7th fastest ahead of the two Ferraris, and Max Verstappen is going to go to the top of the timing screens here. He's going to come across the line. It's 0.4 of a second quicker than Lando Norris. I thought it was going to be obscene, but that is ridiculous from Max Verstappen. He is in a different stratosphere to the other drivers on the track right now. 0.4 of a second needs to be found by Lando Norris. I mean, nearly a second needs to be found by Oscar Piastri if he's going to get anywhere close to pole position. Fernando Alonso down in 8th. Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc both down in 9th and 10th place. Charles Leclerc made a mistake, but Lewis Hamilton also getting all out of it. Ollie Behrman, though, 5th fastest, best of the rest right now. Carlos Sainz in 6th. That is very solid qualifying from both of those midfield cars. And you can now understand why Ollie Behrman was so upset that he didn't get to show his pace in sprint qualifying yesterday. He's absolutely flying. There you go. Lewis Hamilton goes so incredibly wide at turn 1. Nearly gets a track limits infringement, which is pretty impressive considering turn 1 is one of the widest corners on the calendar. And Charles Leclerc, there was the mistake from him. Actually does a pirouette, Charles Leclerc, before he gets across the start-finish line. That's where he lost those 3 or 4 seconds. He's A pirouette from Charles Leclerc as he loses it right at the end of the lap as well. Turn 20, the Mario Andretti corner. The track is a bit more difficult, I think, says Max Verstappen, with a 0.4 of a second advantage over the rest of the field. Goodness gracious me. Imagine if Max Verstappen was ever comfortable inside of a car. The things that he would be able to do. Ooh. Both Ferraris on brand new tyres as well. Behrman was on scrubbed tyres. Sainz, Piastri, Alonso the same. So at least Behrman, Sainz, Piastri and Alonso can blame the fact that they were on scrubbed sets. Hamilton and Leclerc, fresh sets of tyres in their Ferrari cars. And just mistakes were made at Ferrari. Not going to say what mistakes and when, but mistakes were made. Verstappen quickest. And the Ferrari cars actually coming out early. Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton getting out on track before anybody else. Ollie Behrman slots in behind the Ferraris. So it is going to be the 3 Ferrari drivers that get us underway with the final fast laps here in qualifying. Charles Leclerc making his way out of the pit lane first. Here comes Lewis Hamilton as well. Already the Max Verstappen do's are going in the chat. I mean, it's going to be an absolute wonder lap from Lando Norris if he's going to go any quicker than that. And I mean, if Verstappen's got more in the tank, goodness gracious me, what are we even bothering? Just give him the championship now. Like, it's just obscene at this point. Just kicking people while they're down at this point, Max Verstappen. Here he is then. Max still in the garage, waiting as late as possible. Just doesn't want to be sitting in the pit lane, I don't think. And Max Verstappen doesn't mind being the last car out on track. It comes with some pressure, and it comes with hoping that there's not any red flags or yellow flags in front of you. You know, is a little bit of a risk coming out last of anybody, but at the same time, you get the freshest track, get the cleanest air in front of you, and you're ready to go. Only God himself can save Ferrari. Has the Lando glaze gone too far? Absolutely not. It will never go too far. Here we are then. Leclerc just coming around the middle sector now. Lewis Hamilton also DRSing down towards turn 12. Max Verstappen comes out of the garage with 2 minutes and 10 seconds to run. That is going to be pretty tight indeed for Verstappen. He's going to have to do a fairly swift lap to get those tyres prepared. Charles Leclerc, though, is going to be the first driver to get us underway the final couple of minutes of qualifying. Currently 10th fastest Charles Leclerc, so it can literally only get better. Here we are then. Charles Leclerc coming up the hill towards turn 1. Let's see what he's got through this first sector. And just see where he will slot in. Oh, just doesn't seem very happy inside of that car. Like, you can see the tail end of it coming away from the Ferrari, even through turn 1. Snaking through the S's, really having to battle with that Ferrari. He has improved upon himself, but is not fastest in the first sector by a considerable chunk of time. Lewis Hamilton to follow. Hamilton a little bit quicker than Charles Leclerc through the first sector. Only a 10th of a second or so, though. But both improving is the main thing for you Ferrari fans. Ollie Behrman, also a 25.244, is slightly slower than he was previously through the first sector, Ollie Behrman. Charles Leclerc is going to find the back of Max Verstappen here as he enters the final sector. He's 2.5 tenths down on Max Verstappen's pole position time, but is at least improving upon his previous time. Let's just make sure that we don't do a pirouette through the final couple of corners, Charles, and we should be okay. Comes up towards turn 19. Pretty smooth, pretty swift. Turn 20, the bane of his last lap, comes around the corner. And let's see where Charles Leclerc slots himself into. He's second fastest. Still 0.3 of a second off Verstappen, but second fastest for now nonetheless. Here comes Lewis Hamilton as well. And Hamilton has done pretty well indeed. Oh! And Verstappen missed it. Verstappen missed it. Hamilton has gone 4th fastest, but Verstappen did miss the checkered flag. So Verstappen will not get a second run around. Could still get pole position, but will not get a second run at it. Oscar Piastri has improved through the first part of the lap. Lando Norris the same. Lando Norris, though, struggling through the middle sector. George Russell has just gone 3rd fastest of anybody. Sainz, Piastri, Antonelli, all on flying laps as well. Here comes Carlos Sainz. He's next in the queue. And Carlos Sainz goes 8th fastest, stays where he was. Oscar Piastri didn't improve through the middle part of the lap, did Oscar? Needs to improve significantly through the final part of the lap. Here comes Lando Norris. Norris only goes 2nd fastest. Still 0.3 of a second off Verstappen, though. Verstappen's lap time is going to be enough for pole position, even without a second run at it. Piastri on a fairly decent lap, but couldn't improve through the middle part of the lap. And only goes 6th fastest, Oscar Piastri. And Kimi Antonelli, though, to come across the start-finish line. So Piastri might start all the way down in 7th place if Kimi Antonelli can improve on his lap time by just a few hundredths. Doesn't. And Piastri will start in 6th place then. Max Verstappen didn't get a second go, didn't need it. He is absolutely scintillating with that lap time, a 132.510. That is good enough for pole position from Max Verstappen, and could have just waited in the garage, Max. Didn't need to go out on that formation lap that then didn't allow you to do a second lap, anybody. Lando Norris will be in 2nd place. Charles Leclerc in 3rd. That is our top 3. George Russell in 4th once again. Lewis Hamilton 5th fastest. Oscar Piastri 6th. Kimi Antonelli will be alongside Ollie Behrman, the teammates from last year, in 7th and 8th place. And Carlos Sainz and Fernando Alonso in 9th and 10th. Max Verstappen, a little bit surprised that pole position was so easy to come by, but says thank you to the team and well done to everybody. Fernando Alonso, though, starting just inside of the point scoring places is where I got to. The 5 drivers that dropped out in Q2 were Nico Hülkenberg, Liam Lawson, Yuki Tsunoda, Pierre Gasly, and Franco Colapinto. And then the 5 drivers dropped out in Q1 were Gabriel Bortoleto, Esteban Ocon, Lance Stroll, Alex Albon, and Isaac Hadjar. Lance Stroll even. Lance Stroll will drop down 5 places, so we'll start from the back of the grid, unless Isaac Hadjar has to start from the pit lane. Big collision for Isaac Hadjar means that he might end up having to start there. Max Verstappen, another pole position. Thank you guys so much for watching. Massively appreciate you sticking around with the stream. If you could do me a favor and hit the top link in the description down below, that will take you to my most recent video. Just give that a watch. It's only 10 minutes. Give that a little cheeky run through. Really does help out the channel. And whilst you're here, hit the like button on the stream as well. Subscribe to the channel, why not? If you're over on Twitch, give us a little bit of a follow. We're trying to get to 700 followers, trying to hit 150,000 subscribers before the end of the year. And I've got the Crash Happy podcast now as well. So many things to plug, so many different pieces of content for you to go and watch. Go and watch one of them. Gartic Phone over on Crash Happy Podcast, or my video from a couple of days ago on the Not Applicable channel. Pick one, go and watch it. Thank you guys so much. I will see you tomorrow for the Austin Grand Prix. Max Verstappen starts from pole position once again. Could claim another 7 points on Lando Norris and another good chunk of points over Oscar Piastri if it finishes how it starts.